We are at such a unique time in our nation's history, or for that matter, the world's, as the COVID-19 crisis continues to take a toll upon the U.S., with now over 100,000 dead and the employment rate rivaling numbers of the Great Depression nearly 100 years previously. There was already great feelings of anger, panic, and unease within our country due to the stress of the COVID-19 pandemic. For an anxious America trying to hold it together, one might argue that we, as a nation, have been doing so by the smallest of thread, that having to endure yet another crisis just might break the straw off the camel's back. The deaths of African American citizens Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and most recently George Floyd at the hands of cops, and in Ahmaud Arbery's case, those who would take it upon themselves to be citizen replacements, have ignited that other crisis, one that has been rooted in our society for centuries. Race relations, most specifically, the historically disproportionate targeting, harassment, and killing of black and brown citizens of the U.S. in comparison to our white citizens, has yet again been ignited in the wake of those tragic and highly avoidable deaths. In nationwide and global protest, while still very much in the thick of the greatest health crisis the world has seen since the 1918 influenza pandemic, large contingents have gathered in strong fellowship to oppose the systematically racist and oppressive behavior of law enforcement towards people of color. Joining the Perspectives panel today to give their thoughts on the current climate regarding race are Maui Jones, Michelle Coulon, Daniel Rodriguez, Jeffrey Dixon, and Lissette Holmes. I was wondering if we can start with you, Daniel.
Just in case it's crazy stuff that's going on right now. I mean, some tragic events, and both sides, they don't seem to understand each other. And, separate the left and the right, and everybody's polarized into whatever my side said is right. So it's kind of difficult to get an understanding like that.
Well, what are you thinking, Jeff?
I guess it feels to me like we're over the past 3.5 years taking a step back, or a few steps back, in a lot of ways. Like, a lot of things are getting normalized that I kind of didn't think would be, like, kind of elevated to, like, presidential approval of, like, retweeting things that are just awful, and from just like and not just like perspectives, but just like people who just make up their own facts, that he'll just broadcast that, and that's very upsetting. In addition to, obviously, we're not making progress on police brutality as much as I'm sure all of us would like.
Yeah. What about you, Maui?
Well, I think things are finally coming back to the surface. I think things became more subversive for a long time and quiet, but the oppression was still there. And finally, people are angry enough where it came back to the surface. I think part of that is because white America was emboldened by a president that endorses, racist ideals. And those are the ideals upon which this country was founded. And now we are reconciling with that in real time.
Michelle?
I think it's coming to a head. That it's something that's been kind of, at least where we are in Minneapolis. I think, again, I'm from Minnesota nice, so that people would think that they aren't or isn't any. And yet it's more of a blindness, that I think people on Facebook and social media have had their eyes opened and realizing how we have had blinders on. And as hard as it is, being down at the George Floyd Memorial a few times, being able to see communities of all nationalities, all races and cultures coming together and actually wanting to just come together and make a difference.
What about you, Lissette?
Like Jeff said, I feel like this has been just accumulating. Obviously, racism and police brutality has been going on for a very long time. And I question whether or not it's more prevalent now than before. It's kind of hard to tell. But, I mean, people have had enough. And, having the president that we have right now, he's so bold and he can say whatever he wants. And it really riles up his party. It brings out hate. It brings out racism. The tweets, the impact that he has with the things that he says. And I think that just both sides just have collided. Everyone is just fed up. I know that where I live right now in Crystal Lake, it's majority white upper class. And I found myself this week just being disappointed with my community. They just don't understand how to see outside of themselves, outside of their race, and understand what people of color in the Black community has been through. It's disheartening, that's for sure, but I'm hoping things change for the better. We don't necessarily, all of us see eye to eye, but we're cordial, and at least they are open to having the conversation and listening, which I think that that's key to change. At least people are talking, right?
Right.
Something that, an uproar happens and then everyone steps back and it's silent again. Like, the people want to be heard, we're causing havoc, and hopefully we don't back down, and change is coming soon.
Yeah.
I think conversation is key.
Yeah, it's really key. Now, I've been hearing a lot lately, and it's been really interesting that a lot of people have been saying that Obama is the reason for this culture war, like he started it. Do you think that Obama, kind of really set the tone for this? What do you think, Maui?
In a sense, everything that I think we've seen in the election, Donald Trump, and through his presidency, is the response to Obama being president. White identity felt threatened, and there was pushback. I don't think that police brutality increased necessarily. I mean, the police are rooted in catching slaves and capturing former slaves to put them back into the fields post-Civil War. So I don't know, the roots of this are in the very fabric of the country. But in terms of Obama, they're like, oh, we gave you guys the first, black president, like, aren't you grateful? And now we need to reassert our dominance. And what we're seeing now is a reassertion of white supremacy. Oh, y'all got a little too uppity, and now we need to reassert ourselves, and you guys are clamoring again, and we need to, silence you again. We've seen it before. It's happened multiple times before where, the black community said, you know what, no, this is not cool. You can't keep treating us like this. And every time, white people are like, what are you talking about? And it's bullshit. Pardon my French. I don't know if I can curse this.
Yeah. What about you, Michelle?
It makes a lot of sense. I think that I don't know. I have a hard time because I have never liked Donald Trump, even before.
Even when he, yeah.
On TV or whatever. I couldn't stand the man. So I've really not had any respect for him. And I hate to say that when he's our leader. But I think, his arrogance has created a lot of uproar in the movement, I think, of white supremacy, kind of having more of a voice, because he's given a voice and kind of called out media time and time again, and is willing to tweet whatever he wants to tweet. So I can see how it can come off of Obama.
That is the narrative he sold, is make America great again, which means make America white again. That's the narrative he sold from the very beginning.
I completely agree. I feel like I don't think it really necessarily like Maui said. It's not like anything Obama did. I think that white America, they were not okay with having a black president. I mean, it shows in the elections and in the rallies. I mean, you really see that people have so much, they don't have any shame in saying the things that they do now, and I think it's because of him.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think it's probably fair to say that all of us, were really surprised when he won. And then I think it was a week or two after on SNL, David Chappelle gave this great monologue where basically he was like, give him a chance, and I'm just curious, like, Jeff, were you surprised when Donald Trump won?
Yes. I mean, maybe not as much as some people, because, I mean, like, there were things like, where I felt like some people had, like, these sort of comfortable assumptions about, that somehow, there were some red lines that he could cross that, people would say, oh my goodness, okay, this was funny for a while, or, it was cute for a while to, have Donald Trump be the front runner, but now he says, I can just grab women by the pussy and they like it because I'm a star, and when I heard people saying, like, oh, that's it for him, and that some kind of a warning bell went off in my head that was like, yeah, but, like, it wasn't it for him when he had all of these, like, credible sexual assault charges before that, and it wasn't it for him when he said, like, countless, it wasn't it for him, like, when he, I don't know if it was before or after that, but, like, he would mock somebody with, like,
disabilities,
and his, So I guess, I mean, yeah. So by the time it happened, it would maybe like it felt like the other shoe dropping in some sense. Like, you know, I was shocked, you know, a little bit incrementally with each thing, you know, that he seemed to get away with.
Until you're not shocked anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's.
I was not shocked.
They call it the Donald Trump syndrome, that he just says crazy stuff until you become numb to it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, gaslighting is another thing. I didn't even know what gaslighting was until Trump
No.
was elected, and then I started reading about, oh, you're gaslighting us. Oh, that's what that means.
That's a good point. Now, Daniel, a couple weeks ago, or a couple days ago, former Secretary Mattis said, you know, which is very unusual for all these generals and you know, former guys to come out and, you know, speak against presidents. But he said this is the first, you know, president that hasn't tried to unite, whether Democrat or Republican. You know, what do you think about that when you heard that?
Well, I just think that he's trying to save his career after Trump ends being president. Same way that we have Mitt Romney just taking a stance against Trump, or Paul Ryan in Wisconsin, for example. He was at the top of his career, and he decided to quit to take care of his family. So yeah, I think what they try to do is just, we have nothing to do with it, so either November or 4 more years from now, please don't include us with them, because we want to have a career after this.
Right.
So I think pretty much that's what's going on.
When we come back, we will spend some time discussing a clip taken from the Candance Owens video on the death of George Floyd.
What's going on, independent business owners of Chicago? First of all, I just want to give you props, major props. My name is Derek Hines, and I too am a business owner. And what I'm excited about is that you took a leap of faith to start your own business because you had something of value to add to others, and you invested in yourself. Now, I'd like to give you this opportunity to invest in your business. Teaming up with our highly skilled team of videographers and editors, we can produce premier media content to give your business more exposure, confidence, and stress relief. How? Through video. Our primary focus at Stories to Savor is to maintain your business's value from the inside out. We create video to bring more brand awareness and customers to your door. In other words, exposure traffic. Let Stories to Savor share your value and the story of your business. Click the link below so that you can unlock your brand's full potential of video marketing.
He was a criminal, and just because he was a criminal doesn't mean he deserved to die at the knee of a police officer, but it does mean that I am not going to play a part of the broken black culture that always wants to martyr criminals, who wants to pretend they were these upstanding human beings that just wanted to help society, that just wanted to reach out and uplift society. And he has a rap sheet that is long, that is dangerous. He was an example of a violent criminal his entire life. Okay, up until the very last moment. Now, again, I want to be clear. This is not a defense for Derek Chauvin. No one that I have spoken to, no one in the news is defending Derek Chauvin. He is getting what he has coming to him. Okay, great. But why are we pretending that this criminal should be upheld as a citizen, as a martyr in Black America? A martyr for a fake narrative, by the way. Police brutality, racially motivated police brutality is a myth.
But there was a couple points that I thought about, and one is she said that black people are like the black culture is broken, and I was wondering, Lissette, what do you think about that when you heard that?
I think that she's racist against her own people. I think that she tries to almost dehumanize them. She believes that she's better. I think that what she's doing, what I was trying to say, is that she's taking the systematic racism and flipping it around and saying that it's just black culture. She's not understanding everything. Well, let's get this straight. She probably does understand it.
Yeah, I
But
think
she's not pointing out everything that has happened over hundreds and hundreds of years that brought the black community to where they are now and the struggles they have. I don't think that it's something that people are choosing, you know?
yeah.
It's very hard for me to talk about it because I literally just believe that she's completely racist against people of color and black.
Yeah.
And that says something. I mean, when she's having meetings with Trump in the Oval Office and they support her, and all she does is just break down the black community and try to make people look as thugs and criminals and, you know, they can't be saints and all of this stuff. Like, she's disgusting.
She gets her verbiage from Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She feels like she's better than everyone else. And really, I mean, I don't know.
She's got this thesis that you know, because black people are sympathetic to somebody who was imperfect when they were murdered, you know, when they shouldn't have been murdered, you know, they had flaws. That means, you know, they hold rallies for somebody who had flaws means that this is their role model. No. You know, nobody's saying he was our role model. We're saying that, like, he's the latest in a string of black people who've been murdered, you know, either by police or wannabe police, and he didn't deserve that, you know. And yes, we're going to emphasize, you know, the good things about him, you know, which he had good things about him, and he was, you know, turning his life around, whatever. It doesn't matter, you know. Like, he was perfect not to be murdered, you know. Like, and that's. But then and so that was 9 minutes of the video, and then she transitions into this piece about and all of this is over a fake, false narrative that there is racially motivated police brutality. And it seemed to me like she was starting out with her big cash cow that she's gonna, you know, rake it all in now, but she's got to have like a theme that she can carry on to her next speaking engagement, the next one after that, and that's going to be, you know, but racially motivated police brutality is a myth, and that's really upsetting to me to hear somebody like trying to say with a straight face. And I know that a lot of people are.
Most of the stuff that she says is wrong. For example, 2018 violent crimes, she said 50% of the crimes were made by black people, violent crimes. But if you look to the stats, it's 58% white and 37% black. An arrest, for example, is 69% white and 27% black. But if you look to the population, only 60% or 60% of the population in the U.S. is white, and only 13% is black. So that means it's double the amount. It's about the same for white people, but it's double the amount for black people.
Well, and also black communities have more policing.
So that would prove. That there's more policing.
Yeah, she conveniently leaves a lot of stuff out. And another thing that was really heartburning on me, and it, you know, she had sort of dismissed it. I think she said something about Derek Chauvin is going to get his, and that made me think though. And the other three, but that just made me think like Maui. Given the fact how hard it is to convict police officers, I mean, are we certain in 2020 that he's going to get that him and the three are going to get justice?
They probably will, because people are so mad that if they don't, then it will be like setting off a bomb. in this country. So they actually probably will. But that's, you know, that's a few people that are products of a broken system. And in terms of what Candance said, first of all, those aren't her words. Like, those are the words of conservative think tanks. That, like, she's saying the exact same thing every conservative is saying.
Right.
You know, everybody turns to the conservative news, gets their talking points, and that's what they spout out, regardless of what the actual truth is. Doesn't matter. And that's the larger issue, is that we have a large segment of our population that has been brainwashed by conservative think tanks, and we're always trying to like do this like equivalation between the left and the right. Well, the problem is that the right has completely divorced themselves from our trusted institutions. Most of what we know is truth we take on faith by our trusted institutions, by people that have gone to school to become doctors and teachers and whatnot. We don't actually know how most things work. We just believe in our trusted institutions of science and education and whatnot. But we've been in this steady disinformation campaign since the 80s, where now you have this second set of facts that kind of align with a white supremacist narrative. But that's the larger problem here. It doesn't really matter what we say or what we do. They can believe a completely different set of things, right? So there's just disconnect. Nothing that we say. My uncle is one of them. You know, he is a black man who, just the other day, I actually just cut him off out of my life. Because he was saying the same stuff that Candance was saying. And
wow.
He was labeling his friends. And my father, who spoke out against him, one of his white friends said something back at him. He was like, I said, "Oh, you're enabling racists." Like, I tell my white friends all the time, like, if someone in your family is racist, like, do you have the courage to drop them from your life? You know, and I saw that and I realized, like, oh, I'm in that situation. Goodbye, uncle. We're done. Like, I'm not, like, I'm turning my back on you. You know, like, I can't deal with that. And that's what Candance is, right? Candance has paid the price of admission to be an American, which is assimilation, which is brainwashing. It's, you know, you have to give into this narrative that this country was created by heroes and that the police are heroes and all this. The country was created by rapists and colonizers and slavers. The police, like I said earlier, were slave catchers. Like, you know, our prison industry was built on maintaining slavery. Like, there's not an institution in this country that's roots weren't founded on the enslavement of black people. And so that it is very hard to see yourself as a villain, and that's what's happening right now, is that white people have to reconcile with their actual identity, with their actual legacy, and they are terrified of it. No one wants to see themselves as a villain. No one does. And until we can get to a point where we say we need to have a whole new constitutional convention, we need to start from scratch. We cannot be beholden to the texts of slavers, then we're going to keep having this problem. The country was built for this.
That is actually a thing of hope that I have. That's, if taking away from this in 2020, just like the outpouring of unity. After the break, I'd like to discuss with the panel what are some of the things that they are most hopeful for during this important and critical time regarding race relations in the U.S.
Hi everyone, my name is Blanca Hines. I'm the founder and executive director of the not-for-profit organization She Influences. She Influences is an organization for women that focuses on promoting camaraderie amongst women instead of competition. Join me on this journey as we meet and connect with women that will motivate and empower you to reach your highest potential. She will influence you to persevere, succeed, and rediscover your worth.
I have a teenage daughter. She's gone to 2 or 3 protests, you know, peacefully, but it really means something. It means something to the young people. It means something to older people, white, black, Hispanic. I really do feel like this is an opportunity to make serious change, like revolutionary change. And I was like, Michelle, what kind of things do you find that are hopeful out of this?
I I guess I see a lot of hope, especially the last couple times we've been to some protests or down at some rallies. Um, there's just a celebration of like community and life, of coming together to make a difference. That there's this hope for a better future, and like you said, young people, old people. I mean, when we've been down there, there's been police officers that are off duty, or firefighters. You know, that there's, again, the blinders have been taken off, and we are seeing people coming together. The outpouring, I don't know about other states, but within, a few days, because we had so much looting, and it oppressed the people who were already oppressed. I can't tell you how many thousands and thousands of bags of groceries and many different distribution centers set up in South Minneapolis, North Minneapolis, and multiple different areas to provide. And people, if white people feeling like we don't know exactly what to do, but we will provide for our Black brothers and sisters in this way, because that's all right now, we're open to hear and listen, and we know that we can provide food and clothing or shelter. I've seen, I think, a huge issue too is the church. The white church has been brainwashed, in a sense of an eye-opener of like who Christ was, what was his ethnicity, and where has all of this, come from. We've made it into a white religion, in a sense, I feel like, and I see walls being broken down between African American churches and white churches, because Sunday is the most segregated time in the week.
Yeah.
Is Sunday, and that's sad. That's incredibly sad, and we need to come together as I don't know if all of you are believers or not, but as people who follow Christ and really live out his mission to love and care for those who are oppressed. And it gives me hope, to see when I go down the pockets of people praying. Yeah.
Let's continue with that. Just go down the line. Lissette, what do you have hope for?
Well, first of all, the younger generation, like Athena's age, the teenagers, I have been just blown away with them being so fearless.
Yeah.
Those are going to be the ones that are going to really make a change, because they really won't stand for it. Like, at least here in Crystal Lake, like, it's the actual younger teenagers that are putting these protests together. And the amount of people showing up, every different race, color, religion, I mean, it's amazing. I hope that we can actually educate children, the younger generation, into being anti-racism. No matter what color you are, no matter what race, you need to talk about racism. My son is 18, and he is African American, Cuban, Puerto Rican, and white. And my daughter is half Hispanic and white as well. And I took her to a Black Lives Matter protest in Oak Park, and she really didn't know what was going on. And I told her not the entire thing. Obviously, she's only 6, but I told her what was going on, and she's like, what? Just because people look different, that doesn't mean you have to be mean to them. And that was just a little 6-year-old innocently talking about it, and she's like, Kiki, that's Christopher, is dark. Nani, her grandmother, is Afro-Cuban. She's like, and I'm white, I'm brown, and Dad's white, and that's okay. And just starting with that should make a huge change. Let's hope,
Jeff?
for a future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. The first thing I thought of was that my son Nathaniel, like the kids, they don't clam up like about things the way that the adults do, and they don't. Nobody told them certain things are impossible, so they're just gonna do them. I hope. Nathaniel just the other day, he said to me, for like everything that the country has done to black people for the past 400 years, like they should all get a car, That's a nice idea. I was like, I don't think our government could afford that. And then like a while later, I was like, wait a minute, really, a car? We can't afford a car, like, I did the math of like, just like a few days later, and I was like, okay, a new car, 38 grand. There's about like 35 million or so black people in the country, so like it's a little more than $1 trillion. Like, you know what? Like, that was my knee-jerk reaction. I didn't even like do the numbers. It's just like, oh no, that's impossible. Like kids don't know. Like they're just like, and I don't want them to think that that's impossible. And actually, I need to. Another reason why I said that too is because I didn't want to say, oh, that'll never pass Congress, because I didn't want to discourage them. We went to a church in Oak Park on Christmas Eve, and the pastor there was just asked all the kids, what do they wish for the world for the next year, and Nathaniel was just like, the kids were saying generic things. I want peace, I don't think anyone should be hungry. And Nathaniel was like, we need to treat black people better.
Wow.
Like, wow.
How old's Nathaniel?
He's 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's like really hopeful, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Daniel, what are you hopeful for?
Oh, I'm hopeful for the future. I see youth being on the rallies, and especially my students. I teach here in Milwaukee, North Division. It's mostly African American school.
Mm-hmm.
So I see all my students online getting together, rallying, organizing. So I feel hopeful for that.
Very cool.
Because a lot of people think like young people is not, they don't care about politics, they just care about superficial stuff. But I think when the time comes, they're ready for action.
I was just going to say, I feel hopeful too for our older generation.
Yes.
In the sense that I have had more conversations with, I got my parents, but not as much, but like with other people that have more Republican viewpoints and kind of just willing to hear them, but they're also willing to hear and what I have to say or what I give them to read. And so I feel hopeful in that sense too, which is not necessarily, they're voters, right? They're people that can help in the here and now with this system changes. So I think in a whole generational outlook, it is it's a positive.
We're a couple weeks into protests. The civil rights movement went from 1955 until 1968. In that time, we saw a war of attrition. Just to occupy the same space as white people. And all of our leaders that rose up in that 12-year period, and even after that into the Black Power period of the 70s, a lot of those leaders were murdered. So, in the Civil Rights period, in the Civil Rights movement, one of the things that really, like, when it was threatening to fall apart, what kept it going was the youth. So deep and so pervasive is white supremacy. These things didn't happen a long time ago. We have this, museum, Lynching Memorial, that the Equal Justice Initiative opened. And it's amazing. And it's terrible that they have to do that. But those things didn't happen in my past. Those happened when my father was a kid. I don't know. Seeing the youth out there it makes me happy. Seeing that energy start up again. But once again, when I look back at the last time when we really stood up, 12 years. 12 years. And the only reason it ended is because they killed all the people that were speaking out. So I don't know. But the sobering reality is that if we really want to see some change, we're in for a 12-year fight. 12 years. I have hope that we can sustain this for 12 years. I have hope that we can rally together and that we can invest in this and divorce ourselves from the institutions that would enslave us, take our dollars out of the system. Not just black people, brown people, LGBTQIA plus community, differently abled, all the people that are marginalized and other, because the playbook that is used to marginalize all of those communities started with us. It started with us. It started with us and the indigenous peoples of this country.
I mean, my hope is definitely just been reiterated, just even with having this panel. I mean, I really appreciate you all wanting to come in and talk about things that are, not always, not at all, comfortable. And, when you talk about your son, Nathaniel, I mean, that gives me hope. Lissette, when you talk about, Chris, and I'm sorry I forget your daughter's name. But when she talks about, being young, and then, Michelle, I mean, I agree, especially talking with older people, that are looking at this, and Daniel, your students, I just really see like lines of communication opening up. I mean, I think it was really a cool power play by the mayor of Washington to have that Black Lives Matter just lining up to, Pennsylvania anthem. And I know it's just a symbol, but that's one thing different that you didn't do 40, 50, 60 years ago, in the previous civil. So I just feel like there is just such a dramatic now, 50 states, 50 protests. It just seems like such a dramatic, like we have to do something. We may not know what to do, but we're going to continue to communicate because, there just seems to be more of a unanimous just like idea that something needs to be changed in this country to move forward. I want to thank this week's panel for their I would like to thank this week's see, you do something that threw me
All I'm doing is looking right here.
I want to thank this week's panel for their perspectives on the topic of race. Next week, we will be talking to members of the class of 2020 as they... See, I gotta write this.